So today's video, I just decided to get on here and talk about what I think is going to happen in the future of the Blue Lock manga. Now, obviously, at the current point in time, we have the NEL going on, and in this video, I just want to give you guys my thoughts and on the future arcs that we're going to see and how I think the story will progress from here on out. Now, if you guys like this type of content, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. As you guys know, the NEL is currently about to end in just a couple chapters. And after this arc, we have the long-awaited U20 World Cup arc. Well, I do think that this match, Bastard Munchen versus PXG, is going to end in Bastard Munchen's win, with Isagi now being recognized universally as Blue Lock's star boy, Isagi and Kaiser going their separate ways, agreeing to meet each other in the U20 World Cup. Now, we fast forward to the U20 World Cup, and I won't go into specifics on who I think is going to be on the lineup, but, you guys should get a general idea of who will be on the lineup. Either way, I think, first off, the U20 World Cup should be a great demonstration on how far we've come, but also we haven't come far enough to where Japan can actually, lift a fucking World Cup trophy. But the thing is, I think a lot of people got a misconception about Blue Lock that this arc is going to be the last arc of Blue Lock. It's definitely not, okay? I think this arc is a connector arc to what is supposed to be the second last arc of Blue Lock, which I will talk about soon. Obviously, I think in the group stages, the Japan team will obviously show the world that Japan has gotten a lot better in these coming years, and everyone's going to be getting their buckets in these group stages. Name it, Baro, Rin, Isagi, Nagi, everyone's going to be scoring. I also think we're going to get some big nations as rivals here, like Spain, Brazil, France, there's going to be a lot of rivals for Japan set up throughout the World Cup. Now, I don't know the specifics of what teams we're going to play in the knockouts, but one thing I know for sure is I want a game before the game that the Japan U20 lose. I want them to play against Germany. So the first game should be maybe a tournament favorite of sorts in the knockout stages. I want them to play a tournament favorite or someone who's expected to win, has a really stacked team, and Japan just edge it out a little bit. We just edge it out, only to be playing Michael Kaiser's Germany in the next game, where Kaiser and Isagi are going to be going at it left and right, up and down, just going at it throughout the entire game. I think these two games would serve as a great run of just wow, how high up the level of the Blue Lock players have gone. And also Michael Kaiser and Isagi's dynamic and rivalry could be explored more throughout their match. I feel like that match is going to be a really cool one. And finally, I think the last match of the U20 World Cup arc should not be either, I don't say they make the finals. I think it'll be more heartbreaking for them to lose this tournament without making the finals, because then it's just damn, we're good, but we're not the best. We've set out to be the best and actually win, but we lost about a round away from the finals. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's going to sting. And I think that they lose to the team who eventually goes on to maybe lose or win. I'm not sure about that. But what I do know for sure is that the team they're going to lose to is going to be a very good team with very good players. Maybe Itoshi Sai's backstory could be explained in this arc, because I think he is playing in the U20 World Cup with the rest of the strikers. So that'll be very cool to explore. Maybe the last game, we're going to get to see the truth behind Itoshi Sai's backstory and who ended up crushing his heart. And we're going to get to meet that player and just see how good he is. And eventually, at the end of the game, we're going to see our 11 lose in a very heartbreaking fashion, a roller coaster of a game. And I think this arc is then going to be named the best Blue Lock arc, and much better than U20 arc. So yeah, with the U20 World Cup arc being about 100 or so, or maybe 100 plus chapters, I know you guys might think that's long, but remember, our games are now 20 chapters plus. So if we have big games, especially 3 knockout stage games that are huge games, they're most likely going to be 20 chapters plus each. So yeah, I think this is easily going to be an arc that's close to 100 chapters or even more than 100 chapters. Anyways, right after their defeat, we're then going to get a time skip. Now, I think noticing the world seeing that the Blue Lock project did well, it'll pick up, It'll be a massive success in the coming years with more players, yada, yada, yada. But what I also think is that we're going to get a time skip after this. Maybe 2 years, maybe a couple years, because we do know that these players are old, but they're still under 20s. I want a time skip to when they're over 20s. And maybe we can have a mini arc, like a training arc after this. At this point, we basically met all the new Gen 11 players. It's been a time skip. Everyone plays for their clubs in the seasons and shit. And so I think everyone's found their ego. And this arc is just gonna be like a training / maybe season arc of everyone in their league competing against other players that we're gonna get to meet, winning their leagues, and then finally, I don't expect this arc to be that long, but yeah, finally we're gonna get to the year where it is the World Cup. Everyone's gonna be geared up for this World Cup. It's gonna be the craziest arc in all of Blue Lock, as we're gonna have every single one of our players in their fully prime versions, playing with each other, going up against other players who are in their fully prime versions. And some of you guys might have a complaint that, oh, we had the U20 World Cup, then the World Cup are kind of sort of back to back. So that's why I put the mini training arc in there, just to see how the time skip, how it eventually kills the momentum off after the U20 World Cup, but then resurges it with the little training season arc we get, showing us introductions to our new characters and how good they've gotten. And then finally, the actual World Cup arc, where this is where the goal of the story from chapter 1 gets fully realized, right? This is what we've been building towards the entire series. So yeah, I think that this is going to be when we see everything, everything unravel, all the characters solve their plot points, their conflicts, yada, yada, everything. And Japan is going to end up winning this World Cup, with the last game being one of the greatest games we've ever seen in sports manga. Now, you might think that it is over after this, but I have an idea. For the final arc, I do not want it to be the World Cup. Because yes, the Blue Lock Project's goal is to build a team for Japan, or most likely find a striker for Japan who can lift the World Cup and carry Japan to win. We found that, right? Isagi is going to be the one after this World Cup, depending on how you view it, as probably the best player on the planet, the best striker. He's going to be getting all the glaze from all the fans and media, which is going to stir up all the other players' egos, because Isagi's the one that took all the glory when they're the ones, who are also playing and are also very good. So this leads us into our final arc. We know that the Ballon d'Or is coming. What's going to happen is that all the players we've seen throughout the series so far, we know they all play on the clubs and shit. We're finally going to have one last tournament, and it's going to be the Champions League, or it can be the Blue Lock tournament, whatever you want to call it. And every single one of the clubs with all of our main strikers, Nagi, Baro, Isagi, everybody, they're going to have their own stacked teams with all the characters we've met so far, and they're all going to compete for the spot of the #1 striker and the Ballon d'Or. And what's going to happen is we're going to see so many great matchups, like end of series Rin versus end of series Nagi, end of series Baro versus end of series Isagi. We're going to see end of series Sai and Rin maybe on the same team now. It's going to be so sick seeing so many players that we've been building towards and we've seen throughout the entirety of the story, all in one tournament, all on some stacked teams sometimes, just going crazy simultaneously, all trying to claim the spot of #1. Now, this is up to whatever you want to imagine this as, but I say that the final ends up being Nagi versus Isagi. I just see too many parallels between these two characters throughout the series that I just cannot not see Nagi and Isagi being in the finals. Of course, a Rin-Isagi finals would be cool, but I feel like Rin is more of an antagonist / foil for Isagi early game. I think after NEL, Rin won't be much more of like a rival to Isagi, whereas everyone's going to be caught up to Rin level anyways. And then I think the actual World Cup arc, we're going to get to see everyone going crazy. In the Champions League arc, we're going to see Nagi, Isagi, mainly those two units going at each other trying to make it to the finals. But what I love about Blue Lock is that this tournament is going to be so sick, because unlike these characters like Baro, Nagi, like they're not side characters where you can't completely count them out. Maybe Kaiser's even going to be competing in this tournament. All these characters aren't side characters. I view them as their own protagonists. So when they have their own team playing against other, side characters, it's going to feel like they're the protagonists. And every point of the fandom has like their own like faction they can choose. Kind of like the NEL, where, Baro fans are like Juventus fans, not Juventus, you know what I mean, Uber's fans, and Nagi fans are like Manshine supporters, something like that, but even better, because it's the end of the series, and now all these players have grown into their final form, so you're like, shit, everyone chooses their faction, everyone goes to their player and everyone's rooting for their favorite player to win the tournament. I think that would be amazing. But yeah, I think at the end of the tournament, I think the only perfect ending that we can have is Isagi end up winning. It might seem a little predictable, but at the same time, we do have Isagi's goal for becoming the number one striker, and him just not accomplishing it would kind of diminish the journey a little bit, you know? So I'm going to give him that number one striker spot, even though every character in the series wants a number one striker spot. Just for the perfect ending here, I'm not saying Kaneshiro can't end it any other way. For my perfect ending, I'll just give it to Isagi. Although, if I really wanted to give it to Nagi, I would give it to Nagi too, just because of my bias. And yeah, the series is basically going to end with Isagi lifting the Ballon d'Or and claiming himself to be the number one striker in the world. Now, what do you guys think of that ending? Let me know down below in the comments. What do you guys think of my whole rest of Blue Lock story thing? You might be asking, how many chapters do I expect this to be? I think Blue Lock currently is on pace to have 500, 600 chapters. No cap. I think easily, like 2. I think if U20 was the halfway point of the story, I think the U20 World Cup is going to be like the big point of the story, you know? And then we're going to have the World Cup arc, which is like the climax of the story, which will probably be very long as well. Then we have the Champions League Ballon d'Or / arc, which is going to be the final arc, which is another like 100 chapters. So yeah, I really do think that Blue Lock could easily reach 700, maybe 750, and if we're lucky, maybe 800 chapters. That might sound crazy to you guys, but I genuinely believe that this author has so much potential for this manga that he can fit in stuff into 800 chapters. If you guys like this video, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers down below. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think down below about my whole, hypothesis on how I would do the rest of Blue Lock. I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts. And yeah, man, without further ado, I hope you guys all have a great day. Goodbye.